All right, so today we are going to take a deep dive into inclusive design.
Okay.
Making things that work for everybody, no matter their age, ability, or anything else that makes them unique.
Right.
We are really lucky to have this source, Designing for Inclusion, Embracing Diverse Perspectives.
Yes.
And honestly, the stuff that's in here is pretty amazing.
Yeah.
So we
Yep.
learned that inclusive design can actually spark innovation and can also help companies reach a lot more customers than they otherwise might.
It's fascinating, isn't it?
Yeah.
That doing the right thing
Right.
often is also just good business.
Yeah.
A lot of people think that when we talk about inclusive design, we're just talking about accessibility,
Right.
like
yeah.
ramps or captions.
Yeah.
But this source makes it clear that that's really just the tip of the iceberg.
Okay.
Inclusive design starts way earlier in the process.
So if I'm understanding this correctly, it's about considering all kinds of people right from the beginning, not just designing for some imaginary average person.
Exactly.
Okay.
It's about understanding that the average user doesn't actually exist.
Right.
Everyone has different needs, different experiences.
Yeah. Okay.
Think about designing a website.
Mm-hmm.
Inclusive design would mean thinking about how someone with low vision might use that website.
Okay.
Someone with a really slow internet connection.
Right.
How someone who speaks a different language, how they might understand it.
Wow. Okay. That's a lot to think about.
Yeah.
Does this source give us any real-world examples of companies who are actually doing this?
Oh, there are tons.
Okay.
One that really stands out is OXO.
Oh, okay.
You know those kitchen tools?
Yeah, with the...
Yeah, with the comfy black grips.
Yeah.
Those were originally designed for people with arthritis.
Oh, okay.
But it turned out that everyone loved them.
Yeah.
Because a comfortable grip is something that we all appreciate.
Right. Yeah.
Not just people with specific needs.
Oh, I see what you're saying. So they went for this kind of niche need, and it turned out to be something that was much broader.
Exactly.
That's really smart.
That's one of the kind of unexpected benefits of inclusive design. Improve usability for everyone.
Right. Yeah.
But the source goes even deeper.
Okay.
It outlines this whole ripple effect of positive impacts.
Okay. I'm very interested to hear more.
Yeah.
What else can we learn from this source about what inclusive design can achieve?
Well, it starts with the most obvious, which is more people can access and use products and services.
Okay.
Huge win in itself.
Yeah.
But then, like we saw with OXO, inclusive design often just leads to designs that are better for everyone.
Yeah.
Which then means that a company can reach a wider range of customers.
Okay.
And it can actually boost their market share.
Wow.
And then, get this, inclusive design can even fuel innovation.
Okay.
Because when you bring diverse perspectives to the table, you end up with fresh ideas and solutions you might never have thought of otherwise.
I see. So you're pushing the boundaries of design in a way.
Exactly.
That's really neat.
And then there's also the bonus
Yeah.
of building a stronger brand reputation.
Right.
Because these days, consumers actually care about this stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
They want to support businesses that demonstrate a commitment to social responsibility.
Right.
And inclusive design ticks that box.
So I'm hearing a lot of wins here.
It's a win-win.
Yeah.
On multiple levels.
But how do you actually put this into practice?
Yeah.
Where do you even begin with inclusive design?
So the source breaks down a number of key principles.
Okay.
One that really struck me was the emphasis on inclusive research.
Okay.
It's not enough to just assume you know what people need.
Right.
You actually have to go out and involve underrepresented groups in your research.
I see.
And really listen to their experiences.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
You can't really design a solution if you don't understand the challenges in the first place.
Right.
So what else can we learn from this source about how we can do this?
Well, they talk a lot about moving beyond the idea of a single average user.
Okay.
They call it persona spectrums.
Okay.
It's about considering the full range of human abilities and experiences when you're designing.
So can you give me a real-world example of that?
Sure.
How might you use persona spectrums to design something?
So imagine you're designing a mobile app.
Okay.
Instead of just picturing one kind of user, you'd actually create multiple personas representing different needs.
I see.
Someone with dexterity issues might need larger buttons or voice control.
Right.
Someone with a cognitive disability might need really simplified layouts, clear instructions.
Okay.
Someone in a rural area with a really bad data connection might need the app to work offline.
Right.
So you're basically designing for...
You're designing for a lot of different people.
Yes. And this leads to designs that are just much more flexible and adaptable,
Okay.
but meet the needs of a much wider range of people.
Yeah. Yeah.
The source also highlights co-design.
Okay, tell me more about that.
Yeah, so
The sound of that.
co-design brings different types of users directly into the design process.
Yeah, okay.
They're not just giving feedback at the end.
Mm-hmm.
They're actually helping shape the solution from the beginning.
Okay.
It gives them a voice and agency
Right.
in creating something that truly meets their needs.
So I'm guessing that things like accessibility guidelines are a big part of this as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Standards like the Web Content Accessibility Guidelines, or WCAG,
Mm-hmm.
provide this baseline
Okay.
for ensuring that digital content is accessible to people with disabilities.
Right.
Things like captions,
Right.
alt text for images,
Mhm.
keyboard navigation,
Okay.
all essential.
So it seems like there's a lot of different elements that come together
Right.
to make a design truly inclusive.
Yeah.
You've got the research, diverse personas,
Mm.
collaboration with actual users,
Yeah.
and then just that foundation of accessibility standards.
That's right.
Okay, this is very cool stuff.
It is.
And you mentioned Microsoft earlier.
do-
I'm very excited to hear about what they're doing.
Yes.
Because it seems like they're doing some really neat things with inclusive design.
They really are. Microsoft has really fully embraced inclusive design.
Okay.
It's really baked into their company culture.
Mhm.
One of their flagship projects is Seeing AI.
Okay.
It's an app
Yeah.
that uses artificial intelligence to help people with visual impairments
Okay.
to see the world around them.
Wait, how does an app help someone see?
Yeah, it's really cool.
That sounds like sci-fi.
It's pretty remarkable.
Yeah.
So the app can describe objects, people, scenes,
Mhm.
read text aloud, identify products.
Wow.
It can even recognize faces and emotions.
Oh.
So imagine you're walking down the street and your phone says to you,
Okay.
there's a man walking towards you.
Right.
He's smiling and wearing a blue hat.
That's wild.
Yeah.
Are there other examples of things like that
Oh, absolutely.
where they're really using technology to push the boundaries of
Yeah.
what's possible?
Absolutely. So Microsoft also developed the Adaptive Controller,
Oh, okay.
which has been a game changer
Yeah.
for people with limited mobility.
I've seen videos of that.
Yeah.
It's really cool.
Yeah, it's amazing.
People who couldn't play video games before
Yeah.
can now,
Exactly.
which is awesome.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
So the Adaptive Controller has large buttons, programmable inputs.
Mm,
It can be connected to external switches and joysticks.
okay.
So it's a great example of how inclusive design can open up
Right.
these new worlds of possibility
Yeah.
for people who may have been excluded before.
It's very cool to see those real-world examples.
It is.
Like, it really shows how inclusive design can be used to solve problems, but also just to create something totally new
Yeah.
and innovative.
Exactly. And it's not just tech companies either.
Right.
Remember OXO?
Yeah, yeah.
That's inclusive design at work.
Yeah.
In everyday objects.
Oh, yeah.
Even something as simple as curb cuts,
Uh-huh.
which were originally designed for wheelchair users,
Right.
benefit everyone.
Yeah.
Parents pushing strollers,
Uh-huh.
delivery people with hand carts.
Yeah, yeah.
We encounter the positive impacts of inclusive design all the time
That's true.
without even realizing it.
Yeah. Okay, so if it's so beneficial,
Yeah,
why isn't everyone doing it?
right. Well, the source talks about some of the challenges.
Okay.
One of the biggest hurdles is reaching and recruiting underrepresented groups
Right.
for research and testing.
Okay.
It's really hard to design for people if you're not talking to them,
Right.
understanding their experiences.
Yeah, that makes sense. Especially if there's a history of exclusion
Exact.
or mistrust.
Yeah, you need to build genuine relationships
Right.
and create a safe space for people to share
Yeah.
their perspectives.
So are there any other challenges?
Yeah, so then there's the ever-present issue of time and resources.
Okay.
Inclusive design can sometimes seem more demanding upfront.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
You need to plan carefully,
Mm-hmm.
do thoughtful research,
Yeah.
and be willing to iterate and adapt.
But as we've already discussed,
Yeah.
those upfront investments can really pay off
Yeah, totally.
in the long run.
It's about shifting mindsets
Right.
and really prioritizing inclusion
Yeah.
from the get-go.
Okay, so time and resources.
Uh-huh.
What else?
Also, the source discusses the potential for conflicts.
Oh,
When you're trying to meet the diverse needs of different user groups,
right.
what works for one person might not work for another.
Yeah.
And finding that balance can be tricky.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It's a constant process of negotiation and compromise.
Right.
Really thinking carefully about the trade-offs.
Yeah.
And making sure that no one is completely left behind.
Okay.
And then another big challenge is simply a lack of awareness and training
Oh,
in inclusive design principles.
right.
Many designers and organizations don't really understand its importance,
Yeah.
or they don't really know how to put it into practice.
Yeah, so it seems like education and advocacy are going to be really important here.
Absolutely.
We need to get the word out about inclusive design
Totally.
and then give people the tools
Yeah.
and knowledge that they need to actually do this work.
Yeah, and then create that culture
Mm-hmm.
that values and prioritizes inclusion.
So any other challenges that came up in the source?
Well, the last one that they emphasize
Okay.
is that inclusive design is an ongoing process.
Okay.
It's not a one-time fix.
Right.
Needs and technologies are constantly evolving.
Yeah, for sure.
So we have to be continuously updating and improving our designs to stay truly inclusive.
Okay, so it's a commitment, not just checking a box.
Exactly.
I like that.
Me too. And speaking of commitments,
Yeah.
the source actually goes into some of the theoretical underpinnings
Okay.
of inclusive design.
Yeah.
And one that really stood out to me was the social model of disability.
I've heard that term before.
Yeah.
I'm not sure I totally understand it, though.
Sure. Yeah.
Can you explain it a bit?
Yeah. So the social model of disability kind of shifts the focus
Okay.
away from the individual's impairment
Uh-huh.
and puts it instead on the barriers
Okay.
that are created by society and the environment.
So it's not the person's disability that's the problem.
Exactly.
It's the way the world's been designed around them.
Exactly.
That's a very different way of thinking about it.
Yeah. So imagine a wheelchair user
Okay.
who can't enter a building because there's no ramp.
Right.
The social model suggests
Mm-hmm.
that the real disability is the lack of a ramp,
Okay.
not the person's inability to walk.
I see. Okay.
A really powerful reframing.
Yeah.
It kind of challenges us to think about accessibility and inclusion,
Mm-hmm.
not as individual problems,
Right.
but as societal responsibilities.
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense.
And it changes how we approach design.
Okay.
Instead of thinking about accessibility features as add-ons,
Mm-hmm.
we start to understand that everyone benefits
Right.
from a more inclusive environment.
Yeah, I see the connections there.
Yeah.
So the social model of disability kind of lays the groundwork for a more equitable approach to design
Exactly.
that actually benefits everyone.
Yeah.
It's not just about people with disabilities.
That's right.
Yeah, okay.
And the source connects this to the broader context of human rights,
Okay.
emphasizing that everyone has the right
Yeah,
to equal access and participation.
right.
So inclusive design actually becomes a tool
Mhm.
for achieving those rights.
So it's kind of moving beyond just good design.
It
It's going into social justice.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
And these ideas aren't new, you know.
Right.
The disability rights movement has been advocating
Yeah.
for inclusion and challenging social norms
Mm-hmm.
for decades.
For a long time, yeah.
So inclusive design really builds on that legacy.
So it's a continuation of the work that's already been done,
It is.
but also kind of looking ahead to the future.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And in our increasingly diverse and interconnected world,
Right.
it's more important than ever
Mm-hmm.
that we create products and services and environments that work for everyone.
It's not just about being nice or politically correct.
It's not.
It's about creating a world that's functional.
Yeah.
And just better for everybody.
More equitable.
Yeah.
More human.
Okay, so before we get ahead of ourselves
Yeah.
and start dreaming about this future world,
Right.
let's just make sure that our listeners walk away with some concrete things that they've
Sure.
learned.
Sure.
So what are the key principles of inclusive design?
Yeah.
So let's recap what we learned today.
Yeah.
Inclusive design, it's all about recognizing
Yeah.
that diversity is a strength
That's right.
and designing for that full spectrum of human experience. You
Yeah.
know, it's about
Yeah.
pushing those boundaries, challenging assumptions,
Absolutely.
and questioning the norms.
It really is about understanding
Yeah.
that inclusive design benefits everyone.
Right.
It's not just about making things accessible.
Mhm.
It's about creating a world
Yeah.
where everyone feels welcome, valued, and empowered.
I love that.
Yeah.
It's about making a better world one design at a time.
One design at a time.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, we want to leave you with something to think about.
Okay.
What are some examples of good or bad inclusive design that you've encountered in your own life?
Yeah, think about the websites that you use every day, the
Mhm.
products you buy, the spaces you navigate.
Yeah.
Have you ever felt excluded or frustrated by a design that didn't think about your needs?
Right.
Or have you ever been super delighted by a design that made you feel included,
Right. Yeah.
empowered?
Those are really good things to think about.
Yeah.
So how can you advocate for more inclusive design in your own life? Maybe it's speaking up in a meeting
Yeah.
when a design decision seems to be excluding certain users.
Right.
Or maybe it's just being more mindful of the language you use
Totally.
when you're talking about accessibility and inclusion.
What's important is that we all have a role to play
Yeah.
in creating a more inclusive world.
Right.
Even small actions can make a difference.
Absolutely.
It's a good reminder that inclusive design, it's not just for designers.
Right.
It's for all of us.
It's for everyone.
It's a mindset. It's a way of thinking about the world
Yeah.
that can inform everything we do.
So as technology advances and awareness grows, we can be optimistic about the future of inclusive design.
Absolutely.
We can expect to see a lot more of these innovative and inclusive solutions that benefit everyone.
Imagine a world where the digital divide is bridged.
Yeah.
Physical spaces are accessible to all. Products and services are designed with everyone in mind.
That's the world I want to live in.
Yeah.
And it seems like, thanks to a lot of the incredible work being done by designers and researchers and advocates all over the world,
Yeah.
that world is getting closer and closer.
It really is.
So keep your eyes open for those examples of inclusive design in action.
Yes.
And don't be afraid to challenge things when you see that they could be better.
Totally. We can create a more inclusive and equitable world for all.
And that is a wrap on our deep dive into inclusive design.
Okay.
We hope you've enjoyed this deep dive and that you've learned something.
Absolutely.
And we encourage you to keep learning
Mm-hmm.
and advocating for a more inclusive world.
Totally.
Until next time,
Yeah.
keep diving deep.
Keep diving deep.